Hey, welcome back to the program. I got another hot topic for you. The government shutdown. Here we go again. The continued failure of the executive and legislative branches to fulfill their constitutional duty to pass a budget. Congress and the president share budget responsibilities under a general mandate from the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7. The president proposes annual budget guidelines. The proposed budget from the president is considered and amended in many cases by the House and Senate committees. At some point, House and Senate members meet to work out the difference between the appropriation bills. And then if the House and Senate approve the final budget, the president signs the individual bills or the one bill that includes the entire budget. If not all the bills are signed by October 1st, Congress can pass a continuing resolution until all the bills are passed. But in some cases, a deadlock can lead to a government shutdown if they can't agree on these continuing resolutions. And that's the case we have today. And again, a continuing resolution represents failure. If you're pushing forth a continuing resolution, members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, have failed at their constitutional responsibility. Remember now, these people get paid over $175,000 a year, total compensation well into the 200,000s, plus all the fringe benefits, the part-time work, the travel, the restaurants, the lodging, the getaways, the perks, the insider trading, the wealth creation, and they fail at this every year. We haven't had a proper budget resolution process since the early 2010s. Before Obama, we had government shutdowns in 95, 96, 2013, and 2018, 19. Remember now, President Trump was in there then. So it's happened before. The longest period of time we have a government shutdown is 35 days, 2018, 2019. And it should happen again here in 2025. This debate represents failure on the part of Congress, period. Both sides, mind you. I say let the government shut down. We have to stop this silliness. The failure rate by the U.S. Congress. They're more focused on re-election, fame, and fortune than the budget process and what it means for you and I on Main Street. Screw political blame. Forget political blame. The left-leaning media, the establishment media, the liberal media, whatever you want to call them now, the anti-American media, they're going to fear-monger like crazy the next 3 or 4 days. Like crazy. The whole world's going to collapse. Well, that's not necessarily true. Tax collections will still continue, and that covers about 60% of government operations on a regular basis, on an ongoing basis. But notice I said 60%. Remember, if we can't borrow any more money, 40% of the U.S. government shuts down anyway. That's called debt, deficit spending. Remember, $37 trillion in debt. We're already on pace for the 2026 fiscal year to reach a $1.5 or $2 trillion budget deficit under Republican leadership, mind you. Remember, they were going to balance the budget. Remember, President Trump was going to balance the budget. So we're way, way off the base of fiscal responsibility. It happened for a long time. But enough of this. And I think you could argue this is mostly Democrats for decades. Republicans have been kind of straight and narrow, the path they've been on for many, many decades in terms of their priorities, what they want to spend money on. Democrats have been the problem, primarily, because they want more and more what I would call wasteful spending. Safety net spending, welfare spending, spending on illegal immigration, for instance. And that's what they're arguing for now. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, they're arguing for, they want to put back $1.2 trillion into the budget, primarily for immigration, but also for some healthcare stuff. They want to reverse the big, beautiful bill that was passed some months ago by the Republican Congress, the House, and the Senate. And it's a horrible ask. Again, I've already indicated we're on pace for a $1.5 trillion budget deficit in 2026. They want to add another $1.2 trillion on top of that. No. Say no. Forget the blame. At some point, one of these parties is going to have to do the right thing by Americans and suffer the consequences. Now, that is a really difficult thing to argue, because to suffer the consequences mean loss of control in Washington, and then the other side gets to do what they want. It's a really, really tricky problem, to be sure. Let's have this government shutdown. Let's expose how badly managed our federal budget has been for so long by both sides. Now, one of the things that's unusual about this is President Trump is looking at this as a Doge Part 2 opportunity. typically what happens here in these government shutdowns is that some workers, not all, most of the federal government workers, most of the federal government will still operate. We have the money to do that. Some will have to be shut down, slowed down, paused. And those workers are usually furloughed, which means they're not coming to work, they're not getting paid, but they will come back to work and they'll get all their compensation back. Whatever compensation they missed during the time off, they'll get it back. So no savings there at all. And so what Trump is thinking about doing is firing workers, which I think is an innovative and interesting idea. Again, federal government's way too big. We have way too many employees. A lot of waste and abuse going on at the federal level. And so this is an interesting idea, an interesting way to reduce the size of government. Now, Social Security payments will still flow. The military will still be there. Health insurance payments will be made. It'll be hard to recognize that there's a government shutdown. And so we're going to see a lot of that fear mongering, a lot of, if you do this, we'll do this stuff, just to expose this problem to people, the unique electorate that are depending on one government service or another. And if you depend on a government service and we have a government shutdown, you are at risk. And you must recognize that anyway. If you are on a government program, no matter what level or what program it is, you have risks because we are running massive deficits. Now we have the massive interest payments to go along with them, and it's completely unsustainable. So we've been here before. I'm not surprised. Consider this. If they were to come to a deal before the 1st of October, that would be simply a 7-week extension, taking us to late November, early December, and do it again. But again, now this time they'll be under more pressure because they want to get away for Christmas vacation. And they'll probably do another temporary extension to March of 2026. Because that's what we just went through. That's what happened last year at this time. Continuing resolution got us to December. Continuing resolution got us to March. March got us the big, beautiful bill. Now we're right back where we were. It's just horrible, 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 and embarrassing. This is no way to run the government for the world's largest economy. It is embarrassing. Every member of Congress should be embarrassed. Republican, Democrat, Independent, young or old, you should all be embarrassed and ashamed of yourselves for failing so badly to do the job Americans put you in place to do. Let's hope for the best here. But right now, my recommendation for the Republicans is go for the shutdown. Let's expose this. Will my fellow citizens, some of my fellow citizens, be negatively impacted by this? Yes. Does it break my heart? Yes. But we have some serious challenges on our hands across the country, certainly at the federal level, and there are no painless solutions. Listen to me. Trust me on this. There are no painless solutions to the problems confronting us at the federal level, in particular in the budget process. But at this point, Republicans should not cave to the demands of the Democrats, which is more of the same stuff, more of the liberal agenda stuff, the culture stuff, the medical stuff. I hope the Republicans stand strong. This is on the Democrats as far as I'm concerned. But overall, the whole thing we're talking about, both sides are responsible. Both sides are responsible. All right, that's all I have for you right now. Always try to buy American.